The French Dispatch of Liberty, Kansas Evening Sun, or simply The French Dispatch, is a 2021 American anthology comedy drama film, written, directed and produced by Wes Anderson, from a story he conceived with Roman Coppola, Hugo Guinness and Jason Schwartzman. It features a large ensemble cast and follows 3 different storylines as the French Foreign Bureau of the fictional Liberty, Kansas Evening Sun newspaper creates its final issue. The first segment, known as The Cycling Reporter, stars Owen Wilson, a frequent collaborator in Wes Anderson movies, as a travel writer and staff member of the French Dispatch. He's based on Joseph Mitchell, a writer for The New Yorker. He introduces us to the fictionalized French town of Ennui-sur-Blaise, which basically translates to boredom on apathy. Then we are introduced to the next segment, The Concrete Masterpiece, which follows an incarcerated and unstable painter and stars Benicio del Toro, Adrian Brody, Tilda Swinton, and Léa Seydoux. In the next segment, we see revisions of a manifesto. It is inspired by the May 68 student protests, and it stars Frances McDormand, Timothy Chalamet, and Lina Coudry. The next story is called Private Dining Room of the Police Commissioner, and it features Jeffrey Wright, Matteo Amaric, and Stephen Park, and follows the kidnapping of a police commissioner's son. Bill Murray also stars as Arthur Howitzer Jr., the paper's editor. Finally, in the epilogue, we are introduced to the story known as The Obituary. The French Dispatch staff mourn Howitzer's death, but set to work putting together a final issue in honor of his memory. And during the final credits, there's a dedication to the writers and editors, many of whom were associated with The New Yorker. Accompanying these credits are covers of the French Dispatch, which are reminiscent of The New Yorker covers. Now, the project was first mentioned in August 2018 as an untitled musical set after World War II. That December, the film was officially announced, with Anderson calling it a love letter to journalists. Filming took place from November 2018 to March 2019 with cinematographer Robert D. Yeoman in the city of Angoulême, France. In post-production, editing was completed by Andrew Wiseman, and the score was composed beautifully by Alexandre Desplat. Now, to say this film is somewhat offbeat would be an understatement. It's incredibly unique, and frankly just odd at times. But in typical Wes Anderson style, albeit not his best work, it's fun, interesting, curious, and just plain perplexing at points. But never dull, and always keeps you interested. Anderson often works with frequent collaborators on his movies, from Bill Murray to Owen Wilson, to Edward Norton, Adrian Brody, Tilda Swinton, and Frances McDormand, just to name a few. And all of these fine actors appear in this film, of course. Anderson has a most unique style. Most fastly paced comedies marked by more serious and melancholic moments, with themes often centered on grief, loss of innocence, dysfunctional families, parental abandonment, adultery, sibling rivalry, and unlikely friendships. His movies have been noted for being unusually character-driven, and by turns both derided and praised with terms like literary geek chic. Now, I'm generally a fan of Wes Anderson's work, from The Royal Tenenbaums back in 2001 to The Grand Budapest Hotel in 2014. He is a most unique artist. And The French Dispatch encapsulates all of Anderson's usual tropes. Albeit not his best film, I still found myself somewhat enjoying this one. I think my favourite segment was The Concrete Masterpiece, but each is unique and story-driven on its own way, and they play off each other perfectly. I particularly enjoyed seeing all of these actors, some of whom have done these big-budget films of late, like Léa Seydoux, of course, acted in the recent James Bond, No Time to Die, settling in comfortably into an art house film like this. Or, of course, Timothy Chalamet, fresh off the big box office June, being so eccentric and unconventional as Zeffirelli. The acting is off-centre, the stories are idiocentric, and the whole film is frankly peculiar, but it's fun, and it's escapism at its best. I loved the sets and the costumes, and the use of pastel colours, as well as he intertwines into the black and white scenes. And let's not forget the animated car chase. I just found it so eccentric and outre that I couldn't help but enjoy it, and just accept it as part of this weird and wonderful film. Wes Anderson has a most unique vision, and it comes through perfectly in this film, in this love letter, as he stated it, to journalists. The French Dispatch gets a 7 out of 10.